This video is sponsored by Wallhack Mousepads. More about them at the end of the video. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is the first impressions of, in my opinion, the biggest update Battlefield 6 has received so far. And my thoughts about this update after playing it for about 7 hours today are really clear in my head. It plays exactly how I thought it would. However, there are some things I want to clear up and address in this video just for some people that are confused. I have seen an astronomical amount of confusion regarding just exactly what happened in this update. I think DICE is partially to blame, but also it's just kind of a confusing update that isn't exactly clear to people immediately. So let's start going over things. If you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, and of course check out the second channel and the Twitch stream. All links are in the description. Alright, first and foremost, I'm just going to talk about the update as a whole. I'm going to just say up front, this is a really, really good update. It is just as good as I thought it would be on paper. Everything feels exactly how I expected it to feel. The biggest difference I noticed was absolutely the reduction in random recoil on the gunplay. That is something that you can equip any weapon in the game and just feel it instantaneously if you were familiar how the weapons felt pre-patch. In terms of the velocity nerfs, you can feel them slightly, but again, even on paper, the velocity nerfs weren't that drastic. I believe it was an average of about a 5% velocity reduction on top of a 40% drag nerf, but that is over 150 meters. And that is probably because of RedSec and accessibility and casual concerns, and of course this is going to be a big topic within this video, because I think this update isn't exactly what a lot of people were expecting it to be in terms of the severity of the changes. Touching on weapon spread, I can personally feel that the weapon spread at mid-range and longer ranges is definitely higher. You do have to burst fire more, but again, maybe not as much as you thought you would have to burst. Touching on limb multipliers, I'm going to have a dedicated video explaining every single thing that limb multipliers do because I have seen infinite amounts of confusion regarding this topic and exactly what is happening. But in my opinion, playing the game, I can feel their impact. They definitely are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're punishing people that have bad aim and are aiming at my legs and my arms, and they are rewarding people that are aiming for the chest and the head areas. So if you want the really fast version of the limb multiplier explanation, the TLDR is, it essentially rewards better aim now. Touching briefly on the netcode, I mentioned I played for about 7 hours today. In my opinion, I think the netcode is slightly better. I did notice instances where I feel as though I would have died behind a wall or behind cover pre-patch, but because of the netcode updates in this particular patch, I felt like I survived and I made it to cover when I was supposed to, and everything was more synced up. I'm not 100% certain about my opinion on the netcode just yet, even after having played it for 7 hours, because I've seen a lot of different opinions regarding the netcode. I've seen people agree with me, I've seen people say it's exactly the same, and I've seen people say it's worse. But as it stands right now, if I had to give you an opinion, I would say for me personally, it is slightly better, snappier, tighter, more synchronized, and more responsive. If I had to describe this update in a single sentence, I would say that it basically just made the game take slightly more skill. If you were already good at the game, you are going to be completely unaffected by this update, because the funny part is, the changes they made, you're just going to automatically adapt to them on the fly, probably within minutes. But when it comes to more casual players, they're going to get punished more for bad aim. And that's actually good, because before, it didn't matter where you shot somebody. Shot me in the foot, you're still dealing chest damage, right? It was just a joke. The game is a little bit too easy to aim in before. And this update adds a much needed bit of depth to the game, and honestly, this is how Battlefield 6 should have released in the first place. So, regarding the gunplay of Battlefield 6, I would say that I am pretty satisfied with the state it's in right now. But that isn't to say that it's ideal, and I think a lot of other people know that it isn't ideal as well, because a lot of people were surprised upon playing the update to feel just how similar the gunplay was to the pre-patch gunplay. The explanation for this is really simple. DICE is never going to make extremely drastic gameplay changes that may sacrifice the accessibility of the game for casual players. TLDR, they're terrified to make ideal gunplay changes because it might affect the bottom line. That is why, for the longest time, I wasn't pushing for unbelievably transformative gunplay changes, like making the gunplay precisely like Battlefield 4, making the spread 4 times the amount that is present in Battlefield 6, because I knew that wasn't going to be realistic, and there was no shot EA or DICE would ever go for a system like that. So what they basically did with this update is they found some sort of middle ground between the pre-patch gunplay and absolute peak utopia gunplay, which unfortunately we will never have. Modes like RedSec, the fact that Battlefield is a very casual shooter, and just the general shooter ecosystem of 2026 prevent and restrict the developers from taking the absolute ideal route when it comes to making gameplay changes. They unfortunately always have to consider accessibility, casuals, all this sort of stuff, because EA wants to make $1 trillion, and that is what is most important to them. So that being said, I am still very surprised they even did what they did with this update today, which is why I'm saying I'm satisfied with the current state of the gunplay. I never thought this would happen. I never thought they would actually address the gunplay. I thought, if anything, they were going to make it even easier. But I'm happy to say they didn't. They took the correct course of action, and hopefully they stay that course of action, and we'll finally get Battlefield 6 to the state that it can achieve, which is, in my opinion, one of the better Battlefield games ever released, and certainly one of the best modern Battlefield games. But in order to do that, they have a lot more work on the table. I think for many people, the top issues now are spotting, reworking 3D spotting so we don't always have to use suppressors, so we aren't spotted immediately in the 3D world whenever we shoot an unsuppressed weapon, and the time to kill is another big topic I see people bring up a lot. Spotting has way more of a chance of being addressed than the time to kill, because addressing the time to kill, it isn't as easy as, add armor, or increase the health, or decrease weapon RPM. No, they have to go about it in an extremely specific way that, unfortunately, is game-wide. They would have to rebalance every single weapon in the entire game, and they would also have to do this while simultaneously considering RedSec. With all that being said, people really don't seem to enjoy the time to kill in this game, and I fully agree with them. I think the time to kill in this game is blisteringly fast. I think the netcode has trouble handling it, and I think it's annoying and contributes to a very frustrating gameplay loop where you get insta-gibbed out of nowhere. Do I think they're ever going to change it? I have no idea. Do I think the sponsor of this video makes amazing mouse pads? Yes, I do. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this video is sponsored by Wallhack Mousepads, a new sponsor I added to the channel really organically. I've known the owners of the brand for years at this point. Disregard the eye, right? I got bit by a spider or something. We're just gonna ignore that. Okay, so I mentioned this happened organically. I've known the owners of the brand. They hit me up. They were like, yo, like, we're up now. We can sponsor creators. We want to work with people that we talked to in the past. So I'm like, sick. Send me some stuff out. This arrives at my door, and I'm like, what even is this? It's like a gun case for a mouse pad, okay? So immediately the quality was like, damn, whoa, this is different. I want it to be one over, and the mouse pad they sent me is called the CR005. It is their slowest glass pad, or their control glass pad. And I did have to switch to different mouse feet to play on it. Of course, that is a standard issue with glass. They sell all the mouse feet on the website as well. If I were to describe my experience playing on glass so far, it would be, I have the same amount of control on this, but it's just easier to use. I've gained smoothness. I've gained comfort in a way. Because of the way that I play, I'm very wrist heavy. This doesn't restrict my movement as much as some cloth pads did. So if you're interested, be sure to check out Wallhack. It'll be linked in the description, pinned comment. Use my code ENDERS for 10% off. They're cool people. They're not scumbags that run the brand. That's really important to me. So yeah, high quality stuff. They have a great return policy. Glass is glass. So if anything happens, they really stand by that. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching the video, and check out Wallhack Mousepads.